Hey, welcome to Carnell Knowledge. My name is Tom Carnell. This is a show I do 3 times a week in which I review / recommend 5 movies, a book, and 5 records. If you don't know, I was a buyer for Tower Records, Warehouse and Record Factory for about 20 years. I wrote for Fangoria and Dread Central. Published Carpal Nocta magazine, all sorts of stuff. Now, if you go to Amazon, you can find a bunch of books that I've written. Go check those out. Do me a favor. Also, if you comment below, I will get back to you pretty quick. And also, if you go in the description of this video, you will find links to trailer films, sometimes full movies of the movies I'm going to talk about, the Amazon link to the book I'm going to talk about, and then full YouTube playlists of all the records. So don't just take my word for it. Click on the link, go take a look at it for yourself, and you can decide from there. Let's get started with all of that business out of the way. We're going to begin in 1989 with movies. A 1989 movie called SUITO HOMU. It's aka Sweet Home. It's directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who did things like Pulse and Cure, Tokyo Sonata, Retribution, that kind of thing. Stars Nobuki Miyamoto, who is in Tampopo and A Taxing Woman. Shingo Yamashiro, who is in 13 Assassins. And Fukumi Kuroda, who is also in Tampopo. Has to do with a TV production crew that go to a supposedly haunted house. You've heard this scenario before. Go to a haunted house to investigate, in this case, some mosaics that are on the wall by a famous artist, and things go awry as ghosts get stirred up. One of the things I found out that was really interesting was that this video, and there was an accompanying video game, were the inspiration for Resident Evil. And that's kind of cool. This was the first of all, not the first of all of those, but this started a whole wave of them. And also started the game Resident Evil. Effects by the great Dick Smith, which is kind of mind-blowing when you look at the quality of them. There's some that are kind of cool. There are some that aren't. There's an old age makeup that will leave you scratching your head on what were they thinking. It's often compared to The Haunting and Poltergeist, which I guess is fair. Visually, they definitely have their... it dialed down where it's very reminiscent of things like Mario Bava and Dario Argento. It begins feeling like a madcap comedy, and then things take a decidedly spooky turn once everyone starts to settle in for the night. The model of this, a small group of videographers going to a cursed building, has been ripped off so many times, but this is one of the ones that were really sort of cornerstones of that. I would say this and maybe The Haunting, maybe Legend of Hell House, and that kind of a thing. Grave Encounters, I just talked about on a recent show. The film has a wonderful use of light and color, but things devolve as they usually do into stupid people making stupid decisions. You know, no one ever does the smart thing in these movies, and this one follows suit. The eternal question in a lot of these for me is, why don't they just leave? This takes care of that. It shows how they're kind of locked in. Some of the CG, again, it's 1989, so some of the CG is a little rudimentary. A lot of like, almost, it's not scratching on the celluloid, but it certainly looks that way. Another example of something having been ripped off so many times in the post this release that you go back and you go, well, wait a minute, this is sort of derivative, but this was the sort of the OG. Overall, I think this is a decent little haunted house flick. Undoubtedly, it was something I remember years ago, maybe in the 90s, going to Scarecrow Video in Seattle and renting it on Laserdisc and being very impressed by it at the time. It's enjoyable, it's worth seeing, but it may seem a little dated to younger viewers. Moving on to our next film, 1981. The title is SHI YAO, aka Corpse Mania. It's directed by Chi Hung-kyu, who did Bamboo House of Dolls, Ghost Eyes, and The Killer Snakes. Stars Ni Tian, who was in a great movie called Cleopatra Jones and the Casino of Gold. It was a sequel to Cleopatra Jones. Jun Wang and Su Ling Yu, who was in Meteor and the classic martial arts film Dirty Ho. It's about a necrophilic killer murdering prostitutes at Madame Lan's brothel. It's a lot of the research I was doing, it kept saying that it was essentially Shaw Brothers. In Hong Kong, there were Shaw Brothers in Golden Harvest. This is Shaw Brothers. They're homage to things like Lucio Fulci, Mario Bava, and Dario Argento. Think of it as setting out to make a Chinese-made giallo. Blood and Black Lace seems like a pretty solid inspiration. The lighting is very reminiscent of Mario Bava. The film score is borrowed from Phantasm, which I don't know how they got away with that. But it looks like it's shot in high def. And one of my notes here just says maggots. There's a lot of maggots in this movie dumped on people for absolutely no reason other than to show like, hey, look, it's a dead body. There must be maggots. Low budget category 3 film in Hong Kong. We talked about category 3 films in a past episode. The results are so-so. The gore is okay for its time. The story's paper thin and kind of predictable. The reputation of this film, I think the translated title certainly helps bolster this. It's better than the actual film. It's worth seeing. It has its moments. I saw it for free on YouTube. So, there's that. But I came to it thinking I had heard about it for so many years. And so when I finally got down to sit and watch it, it was okay. It was good. It was fun. But it drags a little. And yeah, I don't know that I would really rush to validate the assumption that it's a Chinese-made giallo. It's other than the lighting and the color, there was very little giallo-esque stuff going on. But yeah, Corpse Mania, worth seeing. But yeah, it's not going to blow your socks off. Speaking of blowing your socks off, this next film in a complete 180, 1947. It's a film called Black Narcissus, directed by Michael Powell, who directed Peeping Tom, and then along with a co-director, Emmerich Pressburger, directed things like The Red Shoes and Tales of Hoffman. It's based on a novel by Rumer Godden. Stars Deborah Carr, who is in The King and I, The Innocents, and From Here to Eternity. David Farrar, who is in 300 Spartans. And Kathleen Byron, who, as an elderly actress, was in Saving Private Ryan. It's about Anglican nuns being given a sort of a monastery to open up a school and a hospital in Tibet, in the Himalayas, but they encounter temptation, low morale, and the cold of the Himalayan environment. I'm not going to lie, this is an amazing movie. I had heard about it for years. I'm a big Powell and Pressburger fan. But this one blew me away. It's very, it's beautiful. Some of the backdrops are amazing. And then I learned that the backdrops were blown up black and white photos that the art department went through with pastel chalks and sort of punched up. Where to start with this thing? Some of my notes say the director of photography, Jack Cardo, said the film's lighting was inspired by paintings of Johann Vermeer. An executive for Technicolor said that this film was the best example of their process. It has a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's just beautiful. I mean, the story is not, but the look of the film is really stunning. Absolutely wonderful. Due to the time, mid-40s, there was some questionable casting choices. Whites in Asian roles and brownface. Specifically, there's a young Jean Simmons who was in Guys and Dolls and Spartacus. She doesn't talk, but she's definitely in brownface, and there's a lot of other actors that do kind of goofy accents, which doesn't really age well. Sabu is in this. The guy, he was in the live-action Jungle Book and the Arabian Nights. as the film progresses, it becomes more and more. It's sort of that Jack Torrance thing about being in a place, in a strange place, and the building, not supernaturally, but the building starts to work on them. The isolation starts to work on them. It's a constant wind blowing because they're up in the mountains. But the film is about prejudices, faith, temptation, the destructive power of loneliness and emotions, the seductiveness of the unknown, and so on. But even more fundamental, it's a beautiful film, stronger yet quieter, ancient, and subtle power of place. Truly remarkable. It's very subtle, and it's astounding. It has to do with trying to get the school and hospital going, and then little by little, like the nun that is involved in gardening kind of has a subtle shift and stops planting vegetables and things that they can eat and starts planting flowers. Another one who comes there with what they call difficulties. She becomes very, very isolated, and at one point, spoiler, renounces her vows. I don't want to say too much about this, but it's an impactful and supremely well-made bit of cinema. The acting is phenomenal. The direction is phenomenal. Highly recommended. Again, there's no monsters, there's no fighting, there's none of my usual stuff, but this film is stunning. So again, I saw it on Tubi, so do with that what you will. But yeah, Black Narcissus, highly recommended, easily leapt into my top 15, maybe top 20 movies of all time. Moving on, 1936. Roland D. Reed directed a film called House of Secrets, stars Leslie Fenton, Muriel Evans, and Noel Madison. It's an early old dark house film. I've been going through sort of a renaissance of old dark house films lately. Decent acting, some crisp dialogue, a combination of crime thriller, mad scientist film, and an old dark house. Briskly paced, yet oddly slow. Again, it's 1936, so they're still sort of mutating away from the silent picture and the stage. There's a weird meet cute with our giant tooth hero becomes embroiled in an overtly convoluted and annoyingly delayed mystery that presses the fringes of believability, to be honest. Everyone holds the cards close to the chest and delays everything to the point of irritation. Yeah, it was fine. It was a fine little poverty row pot boiler, made special only by the likability of its leads. Not crucial viewing by any stretch, but if you're in a mood for something like that, it's worth checking out. And again, I saw it for free on, I think it was on Tubi or YouTube, one of the two. Speaking of Tubi, I saw a documentary from 2022 called The Sound of Surf, directed by Tom Duncan. Has to do with surf music. It's a fascinating documentary on the beginnings of that genre. As usual, it's mostly talking heads with clips of performances and film footage from that time. Tracks the growth of not only the music, but also the youth culture of the 60s. I mean, at one point they interviewed the original Gidget, which is kind of wild. It's a comprehensive documentary. Some names aren't mentioned, but they only have like an hour and 20, maybe hour and 30. And the global effect sort of gets a short shrift. They sort of zero in more on the Southern California scene. But it's very cool, pretty boss, and enjoyable. Moving on to books. This week I'm going through my Kindle, sort of clipping off some things that I've read in the past, and wanted to give you a review on. Most of these haven't been stellar, I'll be honest with you. And that brings us to Philip Francassi's No One Is Safe. It's a collection of 14 stories. The stories reminded me of EC Comics. They all sort of hinge on this one little bit of turn. As usual with short story collections, my own included, Good and Bad and the Ugly applies. Some things are great, some things are okay, and some things just don't work. The writing is okay. The author struggles sometimes with metaphor. There is always a difficulty with that between describing what you want the reader to imagine and just saying stuff. I call it the Tarantino effect, where you say stuff just because it's cool, it sounds cool, but it doesn't do anything to service the story. The reviews on Amazon were split. Some people really liked it, some people didn't. Some readers really like this guy. People I respect really like this guy, but it failed to resonate with me. Is it worth reading? I mean, sure. It won't, blow your socks off, but it does go down easy. Nothing stood out that made me want to, as I like to say, toss the book across the room. But as usual on these things, your mileage may vary. Moving on to records. I've got some bangers this week, or this episode. Let's start in 2023. I got a tip to this from Ken Golden on Laser's Edge here on YouTube. The band is called Spicy Brains. The album is called Wait a Minute. Milan-based instrumental trio, founded in 2017. They blend sort of rock and metal and funk and jazz. This is a burner. Absolute burner. I really like this record a lot. Great guitar, great bass. This is going to be your new favorite band. Funky and fresh, and I mean, god damn, it's so good. Weird and challenging at times, but just fantastic. Reminded me of things like Jeff Beck, Liquid Tension Experiment, Dream Theater, Dixie Dregs, and oddly, remember Pat Travers? Pat Travers had a lot of hits. Boom Boom, Out Go the Lights, and a bunch of other stuff. But usually on every record, he did an instrumental that was really good. And this kind of reminded me of that stuff. Spicy Brains, I'd never heard of them. I don't know if they have any more product out. I looked for it and I couldn't find it. But yeah, excellent record. Moving on, 2025. The band is called Sladek. The album is called Things Gotta Change. They're an Austria-based trio specializing in soul music of the late 1960s. Neo-soul and high-energy soulful rhythms, part of the resurgence of soul in what, like hipster circles. Danceable and or just chill, super relaxing, very groove-oriented. It's a terrific record. Reminded me of things like Delvon Lamar, The Temptations, Poets of Rhythm, The Impressions, Four Tops, Smokey Robinson, the Budos Band, and really, really early Hall & Oates. Great stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. So click on the link in the description and check it out for yourself. Moving on to our third record. Eel is the band, not the Eels or Eels, but Eel. The album is called Dead Load. It's from 2026. He is an 18-year-old Moroccan artist, avant-garde experimental jazz, cinematic jazz, I would say. Great stuff, explosive collision of styles and sounds. There are 2 tracks on here though, Blind Nail and Rebar, that should have been, in my opinion, left off the record. They're more metal in a weird way, and then it goes right back to this other kind of funky stuff. The rest of it is beautiful. Has a resonating saxophone, kind of all over the place, but in a good way. Reminded me of the music of Tim Hecker. Came across this on my recommendations on Spotify, and so gave it a shot, and it was great. Let's see, 2 more. Lauri Porra and Finnair. The album is called MATKANTEKIJA, Music for Travelers. Lauri Porra is a Finnish composer and a member of the power metal band Stradivarius. Don't hold that against him. He's also the grandson of the composer Jean Sibelius. This record is genre-defying. It's cinematic. It's another film score in search of a film. Perfect for late night dinner conversation kind of a thing. I really enjoyed this one a lot. It's very relaxed, good for active or passive listening. reminded me of things like Pekka Pajola, Yo-Yo Ma, Jaco Pastorius, and Kazumi Watanabe. This is a great record, and I almost didn't include that he was in the power metal band Stradivarius, because I think that paints a picture that this record definitely does not represent. Give this one a try. I think you will really enjoy it. It's just a lovely, lovely piece. And then finally, a band called Sweetbottom. The record is called Live The Reunion. It's from 2003. Sweetbottom was a Milwaukee-based jazz fusion band founded by Daryl Sturmer, who used to play guitar on tour for Genesis and after Steve Hackett left, and also for Phil Collins. And he was a musician on a few Jean-Luc Ponty records. This stuff is light and breezy. It's very cool, very fun jazz fusion, but it's thoroughly enjoyable. Reminded me of things like Return to Forever, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Bob James, Tom Scott, LA Express, Dave Grusin. You feeling me here? David Sanborn, Spyro Gyra. Remember Stuff? Stuff was for a long time the band on SNL, and it's just great. Sweetbottom, they've got a ton of records out. This live thing is, again, it's from 2003. I don't think they've done anything since. But yeah, it's a banger. And that's going to do it for a Friday. I hope you guys had a good week. I hope you're going to have a good weekend. I'm not sure if this weekend there will be a special episode dropping, but I have been doing shorts, YouTube shorts, taking one movie. The plan is to watch a movie at night and then in the morning scribble down some notes and then do a quick 3-minute video review of it. And so far, it's being received very well, so I think I will continue that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That really helps. Like the video. That really helps. But most of all, share it with friends. And let's grow this channel together. Other than that, I think that's it. Again, have a good weekend. I will see you on Monday, and with a whole bunch of other stuff I'm working on that I think you're really going to like. So, okay. Talk to you later.